Welcome back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. This is Brian, and with me today is Carl Edwards.
Hello, friends. How are you?
And Carl is a special guest. Carl is with Crossnet Ministries, and Berg's had the opportunity to work with Crossnet in a number of ways over the past, probably 5 or 6 years, truthfully, with some other things. But Carl, tell us just who Carl is, and then we'll talk more about Crossnet.
Yes, humbled to be here. Thank you, Brian, for the invitation. Again, Carl Edwards with Crossnet Ministries. I actually hail from Baltimore, Maryland, so that explains my love for the Ravens football and crab cakes. My bride's name is Mary. We have 2 kiddos, Macklin and Lincoln, 10 years old and 8 years old, and love doing life with them. Best part of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we were just talking a few minutes ago, we're in a little bit of different phases of life when it comes to our kids. Mine are a little older, a little more independent, and you're just kind of getting into
we're just
some
getting
of
into that.
the extra stuff.
Yes, exciting.
Right?
They keep me tired.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. It's fun, and what they say is always true. It will go away too fast.
We hear that.
Yeah. You never think it. In the moment, you're kind of like, there's no possible way that I'll ever miss how busy I am, right? And as soon as it starts to go, you're like, what do I do with this time? Anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about Crossnet today. Like I said a few minutes ago, Crossnet is an organization here in the community that Berg believes in their mission. Berg believes in what they're doing. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to donate and give and help out in some small ways with some projects in the past. And so just an opportunity to kind of explore who Crossnet is, make sure so our listeners get a feel for what they are, and we'll sort of talk through Carl's role there, et cetera. So yeah, Carl, why don't just tell us your role at Crossnet, and then kind of why Crossnet exists.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. So my role is Director of Development. So I oversee community engagement, and I oversee fundraising, right? As a nonprofit, we have to raise funds for our operating budget and to keep our programs meeting the needs of the community. So I meet with businesses, churches, and individuals on a consistent basis to find resources for our organization. Those resources don't just stop at dollars. Right. Dollars are great. We appreciate those, but it is also time, which is a very valuable resource, and also product, in-kind resources, food, different things like that. So I love being able to be in the community, tell their Crossnet stories, but ultimately give people an opportunity to partner with us, to give their resources, to be in community together. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I've always loved about Crossnet is that they've recognized that we don't need to operate as silos. And at least in my experiences with Crossnet in the past, they've always looked for ways to partner with other organizations to share those resources, right? So what are some of the ways Crossnet so and I'm going to fumble here a little bit.
Sure, all good.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking a little bit about like food pantry, right, and that's not the only thing Crossnet does, but that's one of the ways that try and partner with those resources.
Yeah, so Crossnet exists to offer help and hope in the name of Jesus by empowering people within our community. So Crossnet works with a demographic of people that would be considered low resourced, or another way to say that, a word we know is in poverty, right? So if we look at the Elanco community, the Elanco School District, Garden Spot School District, that's the demographic of people we serve. Close to 50% of the individuals that live within that community would be considered low resources. And actually, some data we got recently from our school district indicate 2 of our elementary schools that it's actually a tick above 50%. So that's 1 in 2 kiddos would be considered, on the free and reduced meals, low resource and family. So I just said a lot of words, but how we live that out as an organization is through what we call 4 focuses or 4 program areas. Brian, you mentioned one of them. The first one will be food and nutrition. That'll be the first one. Yeah. We also have youth programming. So we have programming from birth through graduating seniors in high school. We have social services. So that is anytime someone calls our office, steps foot in our office, they have a specific need. Housing, transportation, help applying for benefits, car troubles, whatever the need may be, we have full-time social workers that help to try to meet that need and provide sustainability. And the last one would be community. I call that the catch-all pillar. So those are those tangible things that we are able to provide: winter coats, backpacks, Christmas, community meals, and any type of collaboration. You said that word. If you get nothing else from this podcast today, I hope you understand and know the importance of partnership and collaboration. It is not about the Crossnet name. It is about the community working together to meet needs. Crossnet's just the hub for some of that to happen and take place. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's awesome to, the sort of the divisional split there to make sure that you're covering all your bases when it comes to those folks in need. Crossnet originally, I think, originated from the youth side.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So our organization was founded about 35 years ago, which is even weird and crazy to say that. It's been a long tenure, but you're right, Brian. We were founded by a group of individuals that saw kiddos, that saw youth, students that were not connected, whether that was connected to a safe home environment or connected to a healthy community. So that's why we were around. And about 2017 is when our organization actually merged. It was Cross Connection, Elanco Social Services Network. Crossnet was the community and the youth focus. ESSN was the food and the social services. We formed and merged together to create Crossnet. Yeah. So I would tell you, you're right. The foundation of our ministry, the heartbeat of our organization is youth, but now broadened, spread out a little bit more to a holistic approach to the family.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So I had the pleasure of serving on the board for Crossnet at one point in time. And Crossnet didn't always have a fantastic relationship with the community. The reputation at times was like kids gathered and caused trouble, right? And not specifically at the organization, but the kids who were gathering weren't being monitored or were causing problems for the neighboring community, right? And I know that one of the ways Cross Connection and then Crossnet has transitioned is in their spaces, their physical spaces where they've met. Sometimes because they couldn't meet there any longer, and sometimes because they just physically ran out of space. Right?
Yep, that's true. So that's been a pretty cool part of being on staff for some time now. As you're right, we've been able to rebuild or build the reputation and also build the relationship. You're spot on. There was a period of time where it wasn't always the healthiest, but we worked really hard to be intentional about the conversations we were having, and also locating ourselves in a space that was a little bit more conducive opposed to Main Street or over by Yoder's. And now we feel like we're planted in New Holland on Franklin Street, and there's an opportunity for us to grow there. And that's something I've learned. I'll plug our executive director, Meredith Dahl, who's been with our organization for quite some time. That's her heartbeat and that collaborative piece of just building trust, building relationships, and also safety in the community too.
Yeah, for sure. That, So the transition, and you talked about it a moment ago, from Cross Connection to Crossnet to sort of embrace, or find like a home for those resources, and when it comes to the food and nutrition and the housing and the other components that weren't youth and community related. That has, I think, in my opinion, sort of made, at least in the Elanco community, Crossnet the trusted partner of choice in a lot of ways for at least communicating what the needs are and finding solutions. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And again, I wouldn't say that Crossnet is a one-stop shop, but the goal was to create a hub, right? Is to be able to create a hub for those that need resources and those that are resourced to be able to come to an intersection, to come to a safe space. So yes, we're an organization that tries our best to meet the needs of offering help and pointing people to Jesus, but also help and resources, but also, again, those that are well-resourced to meet in providing wisdom and safety and mutual respect between all parties. And it's been brilliant and beautiful to see that happen over the years. And again, we believe and know that there's more to come in that regard.
And talk about that for a minute. How do you do that? So we were fortunate enough to have Nate Hoffer not that long ago from Good Samaritan on the podcast. One of the things that Nate talked about is bridging that gap between the community at large and the folks in need, because people may not always recognize the need exists, right? So I would say the New Holland specifically, but the Elanco region in general is not necessarily regarded as an area of low income, poverty, folks that may be less fortunate, right? And I think that doesn't have necessarily that reputation. And so, how do you bridge that gap with, the reputation that maybe the need is more significant than people realize because it's not always in their face, right?
The simple answer would be education, right? So in my role, I would tell you if I'm meeting with a business or a church or an individual, the foundation, the first part I even start with is educating an individual or a person on what the community demographics are. And then we build up from there, because you're right. There's been many conversations I've had where like, where do you talk about? Where's this poverty? Right. And I believe you and I had a conversation before specifically talking about that. Right. So if you were to drive down Route 23, New Holland Pike, that goes, from Leola, up to where Shady Maple is, you might not see those things, right? You would have that assumption of, in this rural community, where's the poverty? This doesn't look like Philadelphia or another Lancaster city. Poverty looks a little bit different.
Sure.
But I always encourage people, when you turn off on the side streets, when you begin to walk through your community, you begin to start to see things through a different lens. And it's there, right? So education would be the foundation of where we start that conversation. And then we move on, right? We move on to a little bit of that assimilation piece, right? Of getting people connected, getting people involved so that the shared experience and shared story.
Right.
So I will tell you where I've seen the most impact and life change would be simply the two programs, our mentoring program and our Cross Junior program. These are one-on-one interactive experience where a mentor is connected to a mentee and they begin to learn from one another. Again, I use the word mutual respect.
Sure.
And mutual respect is built and grown, and there's understanding starts to happen. The other thing I would say, this is kind of taking a step back to the education, is we use a curriculum or a course called Bridges Out of Poverty. And it has been pivotal in my growth and development, and I think in many others as well, because it gives us a framework on understanding poverty mindset, middle class mindset, and wealth mindset. When I learned that individuals experiencing poverty, there's a mindset associated with that. It helped me understand why individuals do what they do and why they do what they do. And for me, grace was able to be extended, right? Because there's a reason why I do what I do as well. So grace and empathy was able to be extended, so that learning experience was able to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with patterns of behavior. What's been the example that they've come to know, et cetera. Right.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk some about the additional pillars there. So the food and nutrition. I know specifically about the food pantry, but what's the purpose of the food and nutrition component of the ministry?
Yeah. So we have the food and nutrition pillar would be, I would say, our lowest barrier programming. If someone calls in, someone stops in and says, "I need food," you're gonna get some food, right? Yeah. It's a simple way for us to provide a physical, tangible need in the hopes to building a relationship with an individual. We've also learned there's a French proverb we use around Crossnet all the time that says, "A hungry stomach has no ears," and there's a lot of implications with that, right? So think about on the youth side, a kiddo that's sitting in the classroom at school trying to learn all day. If their belly's grumbling and they're worried about where their next meal is going to come from, education's not going to happen.
Yeah, that takes over, right? Yeah,
it takes over. So that's just a philosophy that we use at Crossnet. But as we look at the food and nutrition pillar, we have a food market, right? We have a food pantry. So that operates on a weekly basis.
Talk about that, because that's a really cool idea.
Oh, yes. I love our food pantry. We call our food pantry a choice pantry. So when individuals or a family comes into the food pantry, they are able to go shopping like you and I would go shopping, or where our listeners are shopping. That could be Giant or Wegmans or whatever. It is set up just like a market, physically,
grocery store experience,
just like that. Our participants have a shopping cart. They go through. They're able to pick the items that their family likes, whether that's dietary restrictions, whatever the case may be. Our food pantry also provides fresh produce and milk, butter, eggs, cheese, pastries, breads, just like a grocery store would have. And those shelves are stocked through the generosity of people. We have multiple businesses, multiple grocery stores, multiple churches that are doing food drives on a consistent basis to allow us to offer this. I'll share one quick story.
Yeah,
It's one of my
please
favorite
do.
stories. Um, we have a local egg farm that donates up to 45 dozen eggs every single week. We all know what's happened over the last couple of months
Yeah,
when people
wow.
are talking about eggs. So it's just it's a special relationship. It was something about a year ago. Our food and nutrition manager reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got some grocery outlet gift cards. Can you run and get us some eggs, some other things?" And when I was driving through town, I was like, there's an egg farm right down the road. Have we ever thought about asking them? And we put an ask out there. They said yes.
Yeah,
So
wow.
for about a year now, we have gotten up to 45 dozen eggs every single week. And that is a free item that our participants would have access to every single week. And I love it.
That's
So
incredible.
we're in Lancaster County, right?
Right.
So thinking about
Yeah.
produce. So there's gleaning programs, fresh farmers and orchards in the area that provide those things as well, which is we're grateful for.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you build a relationship or hope to build a relationship, maybe starting with food. But what does that give you an opportunity to do?
Yeah.
Where does that relationship go?
Yeah. So honestly, when we can get them in the door, we can start building that relationship. It opens us to knowing what some of the other needs are. So, it's kind of this funnel system. We can point them into the direction of working with a social worker, looking at some of the other things, looking at their family. We can talk about financial education as well, budgeting courses and things like that. We can get the kiddos plugged into youth programs, whether that's our elementary programs, our 5th and 6th grade programs, or our middle school and high school programs.
Right.
So I love the cohesion. I love the connection that all of our pillars or our programs have, because it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
And I'll opposed to focusing on one program area.
It's amazing. And the goal is to graduate people,
Mm.
right? I mean, it's not to create a system of dependency.
Right.
It's not to create a system where they've got to come to Crossnet to get the things they need. The goal is to help people get out of whatever it is that caused the circumstance or has put them in the place of life that they're in right now, and get them to a spot where they can figure it out.
Yes.
Do it
the
on their
goal
own.
is sustainability.
Yes.
Is how can we provide the resources in partnership, right? In partnership with the individual, with the family. So our participants, I should also clarify, we say the word participants opposed to clients because we believe they're participating in the sustainable work. So just to clarify for our listeners, so you're like, who is a participant? What are they talking about? Just so you know, that's what we mean by that. So there's partnership and collaboration. So our participants, if they're working with social workers, they have goals, right? So it's not just something that's being handed out. There's work that's being done on both sides for this person. You're right. So the life change can happen. And that's why I do what I do, Brian,
Right. Yeah.
because I want to continue to see that. And I've seen it over time. So we know that it can happen. Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about the housing component. So the housing component is, I would say, a newer component to the Crossnet Ministries, right?
Yes.
So how has that grown, and what's the purpose of it?
Great question. And I would tell you probably in the next couple of years, it might be a 5th pillar, to be honest with you. So housing falls under our social services pillar right now. So Crossnet would have maybe 3 components of housing. We have long-term housing. So we have a mobile home that we own that a family is living in, and there's case management that is done with that family. We also have affordable housing. So Crossnet owns 8 units in the New Holland community where there are families living there with affordable rent. Case management is also done there. Yeah. We also, our final would be transitional housing or transitional living. We have a program that we oversee called Pathways to Housing. That program is a 12 to 18 month program where an individual, a family would enter that program through an application process. There would be significant case management done with them. But the goal is that after 12 to 18 months, when they graduate out of this program, they are able to afford fair market rent in the community. So while they're in the program, they're paying a percentage of their income and rent, but they're meeting with social workers to meet goals, to set goals, to try to get promotions, to get education so that their income can increase and they can afford what it looks like to live in our community at fair market.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And that, how big of a need is that in the Elanco community?
It's a large need. I was actually looking at some data preparing for this podcast, and our stats for February, 44 individuals in our community that are experiencing homelessness.
Okay.
That's a large number, right? We're talking about the New Holland community, the Elanco community. It's a large number. And it would be pretty easy to get overwhelmed by that number. But one of the other philosophies, there's a lot of sayings we have at Crossnet, is do for one what you wish you could do for everyone.
Yeah.
Do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We don't have 45 apartments or open spaces, but we have one.
Right.
So we're going to try to change the trajectory of someone's life with that space. So the other thing I should mention, we do have some partnerships with some local churches. So we're able to run our Pathways program out of 2 apartments at Petra Church and also 1 apartment at Trinity Lutheran Church on Main Street in New Holland. So altogether, if my math is correct, about 11 units that we have at our disposal to have families.
That's awesome.
Do Pathways, which is great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the future of Crossnet, right? So a lot of things happening in the last 12 months or so. What's next?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot of things that are next, but the exciting part that we're celebrating is that in 2022 we completed a capital campaign to purchase a warehouse building on Franklin Street. Will be planted where we've been for the last couple of years, additional about 34,000 square feet. Completed that capital campaign. We purchased the building in January, which we're celebrating, which is amazing. And we are in the process of meeting with architects to actually design that space. Hoping over this year we'll be able to break ground and start getting us ready for that. And the goal for that, Brian, honestly, is to be able to do what we already do better, to do it well, to provide more empowerment, more dignity to those that we are serving, but also to be able to offer more services, right? We want to be able to bring some of those amazing agencies that are in Lancaster City, Lancaster County, bring them out to our neck of the woods, the career links, the tenfolds, the counseling service. So we are thrilled to have space to be able to do that now. And I'm excited about it. So we're celebrating.
Obviously.
Yeah. So
no, very cool. Yeah. Bringing those things closer makes them more accessible,
it
right?
does.
I mean, because we didn't talk about it very much, but that transportation component, it's a big problem.
Yes.
People getting out of the community to find resources or to get to resources is an issue.
Yes, it is. And it's not even just the people that we serve. We had our community collaboration last week, and that's just a meeting that we have in the Elanco community where all sectors are represented. The Elanco School District was saying the same thing. So they were talking about their job readiness and working with some of our high school students. And they're able to get kiddos placed at jobs, but kiddos don't have transportation to be able to get there. So they've been talking about initiatives with providing bicycles for kiddos, if there's a way to get cars donated. So we are seeing the same exact dilemma in our community. We do have a transportation program where we have volunteer drivers that help families or individuals get to doctor's appointments, educational appointments, throughout the community. And we're grateful, always looking for volunteers to drive people. So
very cool. So for the folks who happen to listen to us, what are some immediate needs? Crossnet has like a list, or is it somewhere they can find out things that you have to have?
So if you went to our website, elencocross.org, you will be able to click one of the tabs that says current needs. It'll be on our homepage. You'll be able to see that. I said this earlier, but I would tell you the top 2 needs we have would be time, right? People's time. If you're willing to give up a little bit of time to volunteer. And one of the things I love about Crossnet is we have one-time opportunities. That could be something like a community event. We have short-term, that could be a monthly commitment or a quarterly commitment. When we have long-term, those people that want to, give twice a month or on a weekly basis. So we believe we have many opportunities for whatever season or phase of life you are. So I would tell you volunteers would be up there. That would definitely be a need, but continuing to help us stock the shelves. So if you looked at our website, you would be able to see all of the current needs that our food pantry would have. Some of them might sound random, but I promise you it's a need. You might see pancake mix up there, but it is a need. You'll probably see diapers up there as well, and other household items like laundry detergent. So what is on that list is what our organization could need. Yeah.
Excellent. And you just mentioned it, but like, let's say folks go there and they say, I want to get involved. I want to, one time or recurring volunteer time. How do they do that?
Yeah, so that would be on our website as well. There's a volunteer tab, and it would you would fill out your name, your email address, and a little summary of what you're thinking, and that email would get sent to our office, and we would get you plugged in. Or you can contact Carl. You know my name. You can contact me. You'll see my face and my name and my email address on our website. I would love to help you get plugged in the right direction as well.
Very cool.
Either option is fine with me.
Help you meet some of those development goals.
Yes, that's exactly right. That is true.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
true. So you notice how I did not say financial. I did that on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, finances is a part of it. It is, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So people want to give money. They can.
They can.
You're not going to say
no. We make that very easy on our website as well.
All right. Good. Awesome. What else should we know about Crossnet before we wrap up?
No, that's a great question. Friends, what I want you to know about Crossnet is that true community and true collaboration can happen. One of my favorite books is Rooting for Rivals by Peter Greer, who's the executive director of Hope International. And in this book, Peter defines humility, and how he defines humility is subjecting yourself to a grander mission. And I believe the grander mission is us working together, being the hands and feet and serving people. And I believe that can be done. And that is through having an abundance mindset with our community, that resources are out there. And the resources sometimes can be us as individuals and people. So the other thing I want to share is I want to make sure I thank you, Brian, and Ford for just the opportunity to come on here. And thank you all for your partnership. You all have made a significant impact in the hearts and lives of people at Crossnet and in our community. So I could not leave this podcast without making sure we at least honored you and said thank you on behalf of Crossnet Ministries.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been our pleasure. Honestly, I've been able to firsthand bear witness to the good work that's being done, and your spirit's contagious. You make it easy to want to be involved.
Thank you.
So yeah, certainly. Yeah, so that's probably a good place to wrap it up. But I do appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming in today, and thank you for listening and tuning in. And hopefully you guys come back for another episode.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.